When people think of PC gaming, many think it's the superior platform with the bells and whistles of high refresh rate monitors, uncapped FPS, mods, emulators, ultra-wide, and many more options available. While many of these things are true, on the contrary, it's been plagued by many problems over the years relating to optimization, bugs, and crashing stemming from lackluster ports and releases failing to take advantage of the hardware in use. Some may say this is the nature of the platform, which is understandable. Mainly want to talk about my experience with it and point out some of the shortcomings I've noticed with the games I have bought and provide examples along with the cost of the current market. Over the years, it's been apparent how some of the output has been complete crap from a technical perspective, whether it's a port, release, or remaster. PC Gaming Wiki documents all the problems that many of these games have. Final Fantasy XIII, 13.2 had such horrid performance that it led to a mod called Final Fantasy XIII Fix that, like the name states, fixes many of these things along with uncapping the frame rate and using the refresh rate of your monitor. Really changes the games to be more enjoyable with proper fluidity and no hiccups to be found. Did Square Enix bother fixing any of these issues? No, once again, the community steps in and does the work for them, which is sad and shows they cannot give a fuck by being apathetic as possible about the PC user base. Another example of this may be more controversial, but I've always had problems with it along with other players. Final Fantasy 15 has had much more support than other past entries prior, with support for DLSS, Workshop, and high-resolution texture packs, but even this game has been problematic. Stuttering has been introduced after certain updates of the game, while some reporting it's been fixed. From my experience, I was dealing with stuttering in loads. The fix I found to work was disabling Windows 10 Flow Guard, as in CFG, which requires multiple steps to disable one singular program. It's also documented on PC Gaming Wiki's website. This game has never run amazing for me, which is a shame because I do enjoy it despite being polarized by it. These aren't the only Final Fantasy games with current issues. I can tolerate many older ports, such as the ports for Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy IX. What baffles me is Final Fantasy VIII Remaster. Yes, this is a remaster. Guess what? It's a remaster in name only. The game is pillarbox 4x3 and capped at 15 to 30 FPS. When I think of a remaster, it should be including basic, uncapped FPS, and widescreen at the least. Now it's up to you guys if you deem widescreen support and uncapped FPS support as a minor problem in general, or as a remaster. When they're asking the consumer to buy a product known as the remaster, they're expecting a definitive release that isn't dicking around with being lousy, which is why the game remains mixed on Steam's review page in my opinion. If it needs more time in the oven to be figured out, I have no problem with that. Basic cash grab remasters are a dime a dozen and should not be a common trend. Now I want to talk about the GTA Trilogy PC ports done by Grove Street Games, also known as Wardrum Studios. There is a whole laundry list of bullshit that these games have problems with. I only played San Andreas, and it's actually better to downgrade and mod the game than to have the current patch. This is extremely sad how Rockstar and Take-Two treats their games on PC. This shouldn't be a surprise since Take-Two Interactive cares more about corporate profits, suing Hazelight Studios for their game being named It Takes Two, which is ridiculous, and going after GTA and Vice City's decompilation, which are just passionate fans trying to make the games better. You can't make this shit up though, and I feel really bad for those guys. Luckily, it's the modding community that still saves the day for this heaping pile of trash. Shouldn't surprise anybody this trilogy does the bare minimum when they hand their games to mobile developers. Nier Automata, which happens to be one of my favorite games, is specifically known for being patched by Chaldean's Special K Farm mod. Guess how long it took for Square Enix to patch it themselves? 4 fucking years, which as I gather, is to gain good faith because at the time, Nier Replicant version 1.22 was set to release. Now why should we wait 4 years for a game to work properly on a PC port? The community had it patched multiple times, and then it took the developer and the publisher 4 fucking years to do it. Now, how did this all start with this patch? It was reactionary. The thing is, Xbox Game Pass got a version called Nier Automata Become as Gods Edition, and it was fully patched by, I believe, a company called Q-Lock, and they had it all patched. It wasn't perfect, and a lot of people knew that, but it showed that they were willing to patch the game on another platform. Thus, it was review bombed by Steam users like crazy, and then by then, they were announcing a patch. So the patch wasn't even because they really wanted to do it. It was mainly because they were getting a lot of backlash because of it. Now, people are paying for a product. Expect it to work properly, rather than have to use a mod to do that. They did this in the Dark Souls 1 Prepare to Die edition as well. And people were like, okay, I'll do it. Use the mod. It's like, I don't see what the point in any of this is. Hire more companies to patch the games if necessary, but we all know the reason they don't. It's because they don't have to. People will just buy the games anyways, and sure, there will be some outrage for some of them if they're, borderline unplayable, but we get to a point where they just will release unfinished, it's not patched, they'll patch it later. Just hire more people to do these patches or something. Like, if QLock is known for doing this, then why not hire them more often? I understand money is everything. When it comes to these companies, they're here to make money. They're not here to just make games and gain good faith for everybody, as much as everyone would hate to say it. The main goal is to make money, but I think when you get to a point where the games are unplayable, such as Cyberpunk on consoles, then that's when it needs to get better, and it needs to be, more streamlined, make them where they aren't breaking every time. Just because it's PC and they blame multiple hardware configurations for it, that they think it's your fault, the user's at fault. Fast forward to 2021, nothing has changed. We encounter many issues and gripes relating to the games: Sonic Colors Ultimate, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Near Replicant version 1.22, which isn't surprising to me at all, and Forza Horizon 5. This isn't counting the other golden gooses that I didn't play at launch, such as Battlefield 2042 and GTA Trilogy the Definitive Edition, with their frequent publicity and their awful release, say the least. The blue hedgehog can never get a break, can he? Everyone is probably aware by now about the Nintendo Switch port and its strobe lights showcase, but I'm here to report that the PC port's main problem has been stuttering. Everything else seems to work fine. Some suspect it's de novo, which I have no idea about. I've only heard about the horrors of de novo DRM. Can't say for certain how it functions. I'm not an expert on this shit. I think it's just shader compilation during a stage, because I'll go back to the stage I played on and it's all gone. Or the reason may be, I recommend people don't buy this lazy remaster. Not only did it change the color palette an odd decision, it's only on Epic Game Store, so I'm not able to leave a review, and no performance patch has been released to my knowledge. Your best bet is to play it on Dolphin Emulator and use an FPS cheat code. You'll have an infinitely better experience playing it that way. Notice how it's always screen exports? Probably wouldn't buy this shit unless I enjoy the games. Final Fantasy VII Remake is probably the less egregious example of the two in 2021. Maybe I've fared better than others. Dynamic resolution scaling can't be turned off. Barely any settings to be seen within the graphics options, including Digital Foundry reporting, heavy FPS drops, bad frame pacing, and data stream issues. These issues occurred for me, and it's just pathetic they're asking $70 for it. I got a coupon, so I paid $60, but it's still sad because I had luck with the other recent port of Kingdom Hearts 3. That's kind of the problem here. With game releases, especially on PC, you never know how it's going to be with its stupid problems. It's up to the user if they want to troubleshoot these issues. For some, this may deter you away from PC, considering you just want to play the game and run it properly without any error. Hopefully the issues can be addressed for the game, because I've been enjoying it. Near Replicant, on the other hand, has one of the most obtuse issues I've seen for a release in 2021. The game's FPS was tied to game speed. If you don't understand what this means, it's pretty simple. Instead of the frame rate being dynamic, your game will be sped up at 120 FPS if your frame rate is uncapped, or even higher. After the recent update for the game, it's now locked to 57 to 58 FPS, which is equally stupid. I don't understand why they're doing this. It's really hard to fix something this simple. I don't know. When I played this on release, I immediately downloaded Radical Replicant, which is a mod made by Caldan and Special K yet again. Hilarious to me because it's just a repeat of Nier Automata. I don't understand how this keeps happening, but I applaud the Special K group for all of their work. Last on my list is Forza Horizon 5, which is probably the worst one for me without a doubt. I'll say right now, if I didn't play this on Xbox Game Pass, I would have refunded it. The game has all the accessibility options you'd come to expect. Fortunately, I crashed in this game more than I can count. It was that bad. Just trying to play with the boys in Forza, and here I am crashing fucking over and over again. So what did the developers say about these issues that people were review bombing on the Xbox app? Well, in my opinion, the Forza support team blame the users, telling people to troubleshoot and disable everything imaginable. Hell, they evidently updated the game and the issues stopped. Why blame the user for the developer's mistakes? It shouldn't be crashing like this, and people knew it. Following list of software applications examples can cause a game to either fail to launch or crash while playing. Then they go down a list of Logitech G Hub, MSI, EVGA Precision, OBS, XSplit, MacType, wallpaper engine, sonic audio, many more, etc. Now, this isn't the only thing. They start also telling people to disable antivirus such as AVG, Fast, Bitdefender, etc. I don't know who would be using these antiviruses, but regardless, why? I know I was not using these because I was using just basic Windows Defender. They're also telling people to disable the wretched Microsoft Store, which is another complaint entirely, but you get the point. Checking for updates, adding it as an administrator, making sure it's run as an administrator, and many more of their ridiculous claims that they want. None of these fixed it for me. So all in all, it's an amazing game, but this isn't about the quality of the game. More so the quality of the PC launch and the release itself. I'm sure everyone has heard about the disaster that is the GTA Trilogy, Definitive Edition, and Battlefield 2042, so I won't be covering these. So now that I've ranted to oblivion about PC releases, I'll rant about how most GPUs are not being utilized to their full potential. I'm by no means an expert or enthusiast, so keep this in mind. When Horizon Zero Dawn was being released to PC, I noticed the minimum specifications Guerrilla Games were asking for is a GTX 780 3GB or an AMD R9 290 4GB, along with an i5 2500K or AMD FX 6300. I understand this isn't the only game to mention, but there's a big distinction in what they are asking for on PC compared to a base PS4. Multiple outlets have stated that the GPU equivalent in a PS4 is a Radeon 7850, which is about 133% lower in performance than a Radeon R9 290, based on GPU benchmark. That's a pretty big increase even if the game is running at 30 FPS. God of War 2018 is also asking for an AMD R9 2090X 4GB. So if developers are able to master the hardware on a console, why not do it for PC currently, especially for more low-end users? Is it too expensive and time constraining, or just a quick way for Sony to shovel out a title to sell more copies and profit off the PC user base? Whatever it may be, I noticed a couple titles in recent years on a positive note that seem to be a lot more optimized. These are Doom Eternal, Devil May Cry 5, and Guardians of the Galaxy. All these games I've had very little issues with. They run amazing and also look amazing. We need more releases like this. Even if there are varying levels of quality and releases at launch, there are in fact good releases and bad releases. There's just an unfortunate trend of bad releases being patched or not patched at all. If you are thinking of getting a PC, just keep in mind, consoles will probably be more convenient 90% of the time and also more cheaper, considering the GPU market. I just see PC as another platform that has its benefits, but isn't really superior in terms of convenience at this current time. I don't doubt we will see more awful ports and releases in the future, moving into 2022. I can only hope we get more good ones along the way. Let me know what you guys think, and for the record, as I'll state before, there are many good, optimized games out there. I'm just stating the ones that I've experienced that have been problematic. Have a good day.